Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear students, welcome to this lecture. Welcome to this session where we are discussing about the research methodology. And in our lecture today, I would like us to focus on literature review and referencing. These are two very important areas when you're focusing on research or when you're writing your research. It's important you have the knowledge of literature review as well as how to do what we call referencing of your work. So today we shall be discussing deeply about these two important areas. Just to begin with, as we understand that one of the essential preliminary tasks when you undertake your research study is to go through the existing literature in order to acquaint yourself with the available body of knowledge in your area of interest. You go through this literature so that you can be able to increase your understanding, your knowledge of your topic or area of interest. Yes, literature review always comes as one of the important chapters. In fact, in many universities' guidelines, you find that literature review comes as the second chapter just after the introductory chapter. So it comes as chapter 2, which is headed as literature review. So reviewing this literature is sometimes time-consuming and sometimes frustrating, but you should not become discouraged because you will also find it very rewarding. So sometimes some people say that doing a literature review is very, very difficult activity. It takes a lot of time, and therefore it sometimes even frustrates even the researcher. You have to realize that conducting a literature review is very important in a way that it is going to increase you in your knowledge and also it will improve in your methodology. So the question comes, what is a literature review? Of course, when we talk about a literature review, we say that this is a critical analysis or evaluation of the relationship among different works that are related to your research work or your specific topic of interest. It is a summary and explanation of key studies relevant to a proposed project. It is also an account of what has been published on a topic by accredited scholars and researchers. So when you talk about a literature review, this is just like you're going through what other people have written, similar to your work, similar to your topic. Maybe you'll go to the internet or to the library and try to find a topic that is related to your topic, read about it, get more insights, more understanding about it, and thereby you will be conducting a literature review. So it's an evaluation of the relationship among different works that is related to your work. Also, we are saying that it is an account of what has been published on a topic by accredited scholars and researchers. Today, because of technology and because of internet accessibility, people are able to actually put anything, any information they find outside there on the internet. And some information are, yes, reliable, others are not reliable. You as a researcher, you only need to pick out the reliable information. And how do you get a reliable information? By making sure that you try to find information from accredited scholars and researchers. Usually, their work goes through what we call peer review. And if it goes through peer review, then it means that it is accredited or it is something which actually has been approved to be used by other researchers. So don't just get any information from anyone or outside there, but you need to treat every information with curiosity. So literature review is very important. It's very important in our work as researchers in several ways. Number one, we say that it brings clarity and focuses your research to the problem you are investigating. In other words, it increases your knowledge on the problem you want to study, and this may assist you in refining your statement of the problem. Yes, because once you read what other people have written similar to your topic, you will understand the problem they investigated, and also you will try to refine your statement of the problem. Not only that, refining your statement of the problem, also it helps you in improving in your methodology. Going through the literature review acquaints you with the methodologies that have been used by others to find answers to research problems similar to the one you are trying to investigate. Because it will tell you if others have used procedures and methods similar to the ones you are proposing, and if those methods have worked well for them and what problems they have faced with those methods. By becoming aware of any problems and pitfalls, you'll be better positioned to select a methodology that is capable of providing valid answers to your research questions. So here, when you go through any literatures, you'll find that you'll check through what methodologies did they use to find answers to their research questions or their problems. And therefore, you may end up also trying to apply the similar methodologies that which those other scholars or those other researchers have actually applied in their studies. It also broadens your knowledge base in your research area. The most important function of the literature review is to ensure that you read widely around the subject area in which you intend to conduct your research study. So it is important that you know what other researchers have found in regards to the same or similar question, what theories have been put forward, and what gaps exist in the relevant body of knowledge. So by actually going through a literature review, you'll be in a better position to increase in your knowledge in the area of which you are investigating. It also prevents you from duplicating work that has been done before. So to see what has and has not been investigated, it puts you in a better position to know what has not been investigated so that you can be able to investigate in that, and what has been investigated so that you cannot be able to deal with that. Another importance of literature review is that it is used to identify data sources that other researchers have used. Because when you go through the work of other people, it means that you will read what the sources they used, for example, their secondary sources or their references, and thereby you'll also be in a position to read the same sources and also get more insights and more knowledge about the investigations that which actually those other researchers have conducted. So in simple words, conducting a literature review is very important, as it actually puts us in a better position to fully understand our research topic or our area of interest, and thereby getting more ability to conduct our study. There are different sources that which you can be able to find your literatures. Among the different sources, we say that literature review can be done by surveying some of the following scholarly articles. Number one, we talk about journal articles. Yes, journal articles are good, especially for up-to-date information, and they are frequently used in literature reviews because they offer a relatively concise, up-to-date format for research. So using a journal actually is very important because they are published almost on daily basis. There are many, many international journals where if you try to search topics which are similar to the ones you are investigating, you'll find a lot of journals that which have been published outside there. Books, textbooks are also another important sources of our literature reviews. And books tend to be less up-to-date as it takes longer for a book to be published than for a journal article, but they do offer a good starting point from which to find more detailed sources. Textbooks are also another important sources where we can be able to actually get our literatures or our sources of literature. Others include, for example, government or corporate reports. Of course, we know many government departments and corporations, they carry out investigations. So their published findings can provide a useful source of information depending on your field of study. If you go through government ministries, you find that actually they have published numerous reports about cases, problems which are related to their ministries. Newspapers also are another important sources, as they will be able to provide you information about recent trends, discoveries, or changes. For example, announcing changes in government policy, but however, you should then search for more detailed information in other sources. Although newspapers don't provide detailed information, you can actually incorporate newspapers with other sources. Other sources include dissertation or project reports. Of course, these ones here are those which have been conducted by other students or other researchers outside there. Of course, when students sometimes they do their undergraduate or postgraduate research studies, they always publish their works. So, or they are always put in the university library where you can be able to access them. However, you should treat this work with cautiousness because most of those dissertations are not, they don't go through peer review, and therefore some information in those works might not be reliable or might not be correct. The internet is also another important source. And yes, because the internet has become today the fastest growing source of information, and it is possible to characterize the information available, but some hints you need to put into consideration. You have to bear in mind that anyone can post information on the internet, so the quality may not be reliable. The information you find may be intended for a general audience and may not be suitable for inclusion in your literature review. So information for a general audience always is not usually more detailed. It is always less detailed. So the internet is an important source, and you can find some of this information about your topic on the internet. However, you should have to treat the internet with cautiousness. Other sources include conference proceedings as well as magazines. So all in all, those literature sources are very important. However, the most common sources that which we always encourage researchers and students to use, they include, that is the journals, the published journals or journal articles, as well as the textbooks, because they are more reliable. How do you write your literature review? Of course, like we said, sometimes researchers, they get frustrated about writing a literature review. They look at it as a very difficult chapter to write, and therefore sometimes others even they give up. But we said for you, don't give up as a researcher. Try to learn more about how to write a literature review, because once you know how to write a literature review, it means that you'll be able to increase in your knowledge and also in your understanding about the area of interest you are investigating. So when you are reviewing a literature, you review works written by other researchers in your field of study. But for you to use their work, in your proposal, or in your research, you need to do what we call citing. Citing other people's work or other researchers' work. Citation, we define it as the process of acknowledging the source of your information and ideas. This helps us in avoiding what we call plagiarism in research. Remember, we said plagiarism is like a disease. It's very bad. It's like stealing, and it is not good in research work. So as a student or as a researcher, you need to improve in your work and to avoid plagiarism, yes. While writing your literature, remember, most of the information in your literature you are going to get from other researchers, other writers. Therefore, you need to avoid what we call plagiarism. So any information you get from any other source that is not your own, then you have to make sure you cite that particular source. When we cite, we can use two common methods. Either we use what we call paraphrasing, or we can use what we call direct quotation. Paraphrasing, it is the most commonly used format when writing in-text citations in our literature review. It means putting someone else's words into your own words, but still you're saying the same thing. Meaning that you go to somebody's work, you read what the person has written, you get the idea, then the information in that work, you also use the same information in your work, but not the same exact words. No, maybe you use your own words, or you change the statements according to your own words, but the meaning still remains to be the same. So even if you have used your own words, and you've taken this from another source, you have to give citation. When you paraphrase from one of your sources, you must recognize where it actually came from. Okay? According to APA, which is the common method which we use even here at Golis University, when paraphrasing using the APA, that is the American Psychological Association format, the researcher only needs to cite the author's last name and the date of publication. Remember, you look at the work of other person, the other writer, what he has written, maybe a textbook, maybe a journal. And whenever writers write in those books, we always use our full names. Okay, for example, Dauda Jamada. Okay, so but according to APA, it says when you are going to cite me as your source, then use only my last name. You start with the last name in your citation. The other information will come in the reference. For example, my name is Dauda Jamada, then you'll cite as Jamada. Dauda is the first name, it will come last as initial in our reference. So this is an example here. We have here example, Jama in the year 2001 believes that population of Western Somaliland has increased by 20% since 2008. Since 2008. So in this example here we have Jama has been cited, and the year that which Jama did his work or published his work was 2001. Okay? Or in another example, we can cite like this. The population of Western Somaliland has increased by 20% since 2008. Then bracket, you cite Jama, comma, 2001. Okay. However, in cases where words are difficult to paraphrase, we can use direct quotation. So paraphrasing, it means that we are going to get the information from our source. We use our own statement, our own words, but the meaning still remains the same. However, you have to give a citation. So in cases where maybe the language is difficult and we cannot change the wordings to our own wordings, maybe because of English language being a problem or a challenge to some of us, then what do? We can use what we call direct quoting or direct quotation. Direct quotation is one in which you copy an author's words directly from the text and use that exact wording in your essay. So if you're quoting directly from a source, according to APA, there are two formats we can use. There are quotes for words which are less than 40 words, and another one is for quotes for words which are more than 40 words. In case maybe you're quoting words which are less than 40, how do you write it? According to APA, it says if your quote is less than 40 words, type it in your text with the double quotation marks. Double quotation marks you use. You put the quotation marks and then you copy that text inside there. After that, you cite it. Okay? Now, these are examples which are provided. For example, WHO 2007 lamented that. Then we have the quotation mark here. Okay? The open quotation mark. Antenatal care is critical for improving maternal and newborn health. At the end, we end with our close quotation mark or the ending quotation mark. Okay? Here you can see we have begun with the citation, then put their connecting statement, and then go ahead and copy the text there. In another example is you directly start with the quotation mark, copy your text. When you complete, close your quotation, and then put your brackets and put your citation there. WHO 2007. In another example, we have, she stated that antenatal care is critical for improving maternal and newborn health. WHO 2007, comma, then continue your statement, continue your writing. So from the three examples here, we can see that your citation can come either at the beginning of your work, or it can come at the end of your statement, or it can come even in the middle of the statement. It is all accepted according to APA format. Like if your quote is 40 words or greater, or it is more than 40 words, take a new line and indent the quote to separate it from the main text. In this case, you do not require quotation marks. Okay, so for words which are more than 40, you don't need to use the quotation marks, but rather you only need to do what you call indentation. You indent, meaning slightly you push inside your cursor, then you copy your statement there. Once you finish copying, take your cursor back to the normal line and continue writing your work. For example, here, as you can see, this is my work, for example. Then I begin my statement. In fact, Magadi et al., 1999, page 33, argue that. Then I put indent. You see this spacing here? I slightly push inside my cursor, then I put my copied statement there. Okay? So if words are more than 40 words, you use indentation. But if they are less than 40 words, that's where you use what you call quotation marks. Okay? So when referencing the quote, include the page number from which it was actually taken. So when do we use direct quotation? We use direct quotation in case maybe the author's definitions of important terms are difficult. It's very difficult for us to actually change them into our own words. So therefore, we have to use direct quotation. Remember, direct quotation is about copying the text and putting it in your work. Or sometimes we use direct quotation in assumptions underlying the author's choice of words. Maybe the author has used words which actually we cannot be able to change those particular words. That's when we can be able to use a direct quotation. Or particularly illustrative examples of an author's specific view which are difficult to paraphrase. That's when we can also use a direct quotation, or even well-expressed opinions revealing insights which a paraphrase cannot be able to capture. So there are different situations or scenarios where we can be able to use a direct quotation. And some of these scenarios, we have just highlighted them here, especially when the language is difficult for you. Maybe you cannot be able to use your own words. English is a problem. Then you can copy the text from the other source, put it in your work, and make sure that if it is less than 40 words, use a quotation mark. But if it is more than 40 words, just indent it and copy it there and make sure you cite it. According to APA, citation. APA citation. Of course, when we are citing, either we can cite textbooks which are written by one author, two authors, 3 or 5 authors, 6 authors, because nowadays, especially journals, you find some writers have come together, they put their knowledge together, then they published a particular book or a particular article. So you, as a researcher, when you are going to cite, you have to make sure you know how do you cite in case it is a one author. Of course, it's just the last name, the author's last name and the year of publication. In case there are 2 authors, we say use both names each time you quote from the source. For example, Namagembe and Zawede, 2002. Remember, these names are the author's last names. These are not their first names. These are their last names, okay? In case there are 3 to 5 authors, cite all the authors in text the first time a reference occurs. In subsequent citations, include only the surname of the first author followed by et al. Et al, it means and others or and friends or and colleagues. In case it's a first citation, write all of them, 3 to 5 authors. If there are 3 authors, 4 authors, 5 authors, write in the first time you are citing, write all their last names. For example, Namagembe, Zawede, Asimwe, Nalule, and Bikokie. 1998. These are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 authors with Namagembe as their lead author. Okay? That's why the first name should be for the first or the lead author. Then in subsequent citations, after maybe another time again you want to cite from the same source, from the same book, you don't need to write all the names of those authors. You only need to write the name of the first author followed by et al. For example, Namagembe et al. 1998. This means Namagembe and the colleagues or Namagembe and the friends. What about if the book or the source has 6 or more authors? In case it is 6 or more authors, according to APA, it says, cite in text only the surname of the first author followed by et al. And the year for the first and subsequent citations. Even if you're going to cite it the first time, the second time, the third time, just you have to use only the first author followed by et al. 1998. Some books or some sources, there is no author. The author is listed as anonymous. In such a situation, use it as if it were the author's name. For example, just write anonymous and then the year of publication, in case the name is not provided in the source, either a textbook or a journal. So when you talk about referencing, now after citation, you have to reference your work. Remember, whatever you cite in your work, it should appear as a reference at the end of your work. So referencing, simply it means that you indicate which material is not your own and show where you get it from. You got it from. So even if you have not used someone's exact word, but you have rephrased or paraphrased their ideas, you need to give your sources. The idea is that someone reading your work should be able to recognize the differences between your work and the author's work. So you need to provide them with enough information about your sources so that one can easily find the sources for themselves. So why do we do referencing? Referencing is good, yes. If someone stole from you, you will be upset. In a similar way, using someone's idea without acknowledging them is like stealing. Remember, we talked about referencing or citing and referencing, meaning that when you cite somebody's work, you acknowledge the source. You tell us that this work is not mine. I have copied this work from this particular source. That is good. But if you just only copy somebody's work and you don't show us exactly where did you get this work from, that is similar to stealing. Plagiarism. Plagiarism, like I mentioned earlier, it is not good in research work and we don't accept it. So referencing is about making sure that if you use someone's words or ideas, you let your readers know that where that information came from. So referencing is necessary to avoid plagiarism, to verify quotation, and to enable readers to follow up and read more fully the cited authors. So according to Golis University, references or a list of references come at the end of your paper, at the end of your work in form of a list on a separate page with the word references at the top. So a university cannot decide to adopt any style of referencing. Like at Golis University, we have adopted the APA referencing style. That That is the American Psychological Association referencing style. So what is APA referencing? According to APA referencing, the information you need to provide. For example, if you're referencing a book or a textbook, what is the necessary information to consider? This is the information. You should have the author of the book or the authors, if it is more than one, the year of publication, the title of the book, the place of publication, as well as the publishing entity or the publishing company. Apart from that, this is the arrangement. The title of the book, of course, you need to give the full title of the book, and you capitalize only the first letter of the first word of the title. For example, The Evolution of Mankind. Okay? The place of publication, of course, certain cities are common of publication, and they're included with no additional information. These include, for example, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Amsterdam, London, Moscow, and many others. So if the book was published in one of those places which are recognized or well known for common cities of publication, this is how you're going to do it. Okay? You put your colon, and then you put the statement, and then you put the colon. New York, then like that. The authors of the book, remember, like we said, that for the books, put each author's last name, then a comma, then the first initial of the first name, then any additional initial. For example, if it is one author, Namagembe FK. Namagembe is the last name, then FK, this is the first initial name, and the second initial name is K. Okay, if it is two authors, there, just like we have mentioned previously in citation, Namagembe FK and Asimwe R. Okay. Remember, in citation, these other initials do not appear, only the last name and the year. But in references, you should provide us with these other initials, the first initial and the second initial. If there are three authors, the same procedure you follow as we have mentioned previously. The year of publication, always make sure that it is put in bracket. And this is how we write it, for example, 1994. And if the date is not given, some books or some sources, maybe they don't provide us with the date, just put it as ND, meaning no date is provided. Publishing entity, that's the publishing company. We have given examples of those publishing companies, for example, Collins, Cambridge University Press, General Electric Corporation. There are many of those common non-publishing companies. That's how you'll be able to actually provide them. Okay, this is an example of how referencing of a book will look like. For example, Namagembe FK 1992, A Theoretical Basis for Research Methodology, New Haven, Bayside. Okay, if it is more than one author, these are two authors, Namagembe FK and Asimwe R 2000, Research in ICT, Kampala MK Publishers. Okay, if it is three authors, the same procedures. This is the order that you follow. You have the authors, the year, the title of the book, the place of publication, and the publishing entity or the publishing company. What about a journal? If you are referencing a journal, the necessary information you need to consider are as follows. You need to have the authors of that article, the year of publication, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume number, usually noted on the front cover of the title of or title page of the journal, the issue number, as well as the pages of the chapter. This information is provided on the top cover of that particular journal. Usually the volume and the issue number, if it is a volume alone, only you'll put the journal title and the volume, then comma and the volume number, for example, 25. But if the volume number, volume and the issue are provided in that article, you have the journal title, then we have there the volume number as well as the issue number, which is actually provided in brackets. Page numbers, usually after the volume, you'll be able to put the page numbers, for example, 1994 to 156. Usually these page numbers are provided on top of that particular article, or after the issue comes in bracket, the issue number comes in bracket after that, then followed by the page numbers, for example, 221 to 238. Example, this is how it will look like. For example, Namagembe F 2000, then the title of the article is there, then the journal is there, then we have the volume number, the issue number, then the page numbers. Another example, we have Jamada DW, that is if I am the one who published the book, then the year 2019, understanding, that is understanding employee motivational nature, blah, blah, blah. That is the topic of the article. Then the journal comes, American Research Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences. Volume number 2, issue number 9, page numbers are there, 32 to 40. This is how it is followed. This is the order. You have the author's name, the year, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume number, issue number, and the page numbers. Follow the same format for journal referencing to reference other periodicals such as magazines, newspapers. You follow the same format of referencing a journal. Okay? What about the internet? If you are referencing from an internet document. So the necessary information you need to consider are as follows: the authors of the document, the date of publication, the title of the document, and the location of that particular document. And this is how it will look like. Okay, for example, if the title of the document, investigations into pig Latin, usage in chat room communication. Okay, location, for example, that is the URL, that http www blah blah blah. That's what the location is, and this is how it will look like. For example, you have the author, the last name and the initial, the year 2010, the title of the work, then where did you get from, retrieved on, the date when you got that information, and then the what you call the URL or the location of the document. This is the format: the authors, the date, the title, and the location. For example, Benton Foundation, 1998, barriers to closing the gap in losing ground bit by bit. Low-income communities in the information age, chapter 2, retrieved on March 23 from this particular source or the location. Okay. Some points you need to consider when you are referencing. When you're writing your reference at the end of your work, the author's last name comes first, followed by initials for the first and the middle names. That one is clear. For example, Jamada Dauda, that will be Jamada DW. Okay. Titles for books, including handbooks and manuals, conferencing proceedings, or journals are put in italics or slanting format. The title for article, chapters, reports, thesis, dissertation are put in quotation marks. Capitalize the first letter of the first and last words of the title, subtitle, and all major words. Simple words like an, they, don't put them in capital, put them in small letters or in lowercase, okay? For example, and, but, for, or, they should be in lowercase or in small letters. So remember, why do we do citation and referencing? Is to avoid plagiarism. So what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is fabricating results. Fabricating results is considered to be one of the worst academic sins. Plagiarism is the presentation of another person's work or ideas or creation as your own, without acknowledging where those ideas came from, including submitting work as your own that someone else has done for you. So plagiarism, it simply means taking credit for someone else's work. You take another person's work and you use without acknowledging where did you get it from. So in academic writing, this is the same as cheating, and it is not allowed, okay? So copying phrases word for word without quotation marks and without a reference to the author. This includes, but is not limited to, books, journals, reports, theses, websites, conference papers, and course notes. So if you copy without citing them, that is plagiarism. So paraphrasing an author's work and presenting it without a reference, also it is referred to as plagiarism, which all of us should try as much as we can in order to avoid. So all in all, in conclusion, we have actually tried to elaborate on two important areas, that is literature review, writing a literature review, as well as referencing. And this goes hand in hand with citation, which actually we have elaborated in this session. I thank you very much for your attendance, and in case you have any further questions, please let us, you can ask me any moment through my email. Thank you very much, and wishing you all the best.